Welcome back to Show Me What I've Been Missing, the pop culture podcast where you tell your friend, what, you haven't seen that yet? Oh my God. I'm your host, Elizabeth, and I'm here with our other host, Chris.
What's up?
And we're here with some very special guests because this is our season 2 that we are kicking off, and we're kicking it off with season 2 of Sex and the City, but we're joined today by Lauren and Sarah from the Enough Wicker podcast. And you can check them out at enoughwicker.com. So Lauren and Sarah, say hi.
Hi.
Hello.
So before we get into this episode, tell us about your podcast. What does it consist of?
Well, we deal with 4 ladies that are really close friends. They talk about sex a lot. They have sex a lot. They get in little spats, but they always make up because friendship is the name of the game. And it's about the Golden Girls, not about Sex in the City. But we cover the Golden Girls. We kind of do, every single episode. We are in the middle currently of season 2, or towards the end of season 2, rather.
Okay, so we're about the same wavelength.
Yeah, that's cool.
Not the same
deep dive.
Yeah, exactly. Pacing. But our twist is that we actually view it from a scholarly perspective, which basically means that Lauren and I take very copious notes every time we rewatch episodes of which we've seen 1,001 times, and talk to different scholars like TV scholars, media scholars, feminist scholars, people who take a look at the show from different angles in terms of how it influenced people back then and now. And there's all sorts of amazing nuggets to constantly find. What would you say, Lauren?
I think that's pretty much it. It's a podcast about the Golden Girls, and we try to make ourselves sound smart by talking about academic subjects.
Well, we talk to the smart people who know about the
Yeah, right there it is. Yeah, see, that's kind of like a Joe Rogan thing. You bring in the expert, let them talk about it, and then you look smart too.
It's the first time anyone's ever compared me to Joe Rogan.
You can take it or leave it, because anytime he brings it up, I'm always like,
I'm a fan.
Marge Simpson noises.
It was a compliment. Coming from me, it was a compliment. If you're her, you might want to.
He says that it's nice when I say it. Look
We'll see how you do, Lauren.
Right on.
Halfway through, you guys just look like Elon Musk. that screen grab of him smoking.
Yeah, there you go.
And you're like, let me tell you something about Charlotte. I did this when we started, and I'll do it because we're in a whole new year in this season 2 of Sex and the City.
1999.
It premiered on June 6th of 1999. Other shows premiering that year. SpongeBob, not relevant,
shit.
But
wait, what?
Fun to know.
SpongeBob is 1999?
Yeah.
Dang.
The West Wing.
Love that
Family Guy, and a little show called The Sopranos, which I need to point out, a lot of people have always said, oh, Sopranos is what saved HBO, and they ignore Sex and the City. Sex and the City came a whole year before The Sopranos did.
Yeah. Wow. Fun fact.
So
I don't really know if you can credit one show as saving HBO, because HBO has been having a consistent Sunday night lineup for, I don't know, the past 25, 30 years. I don't know if you can credit one show with that. Maybe you could almost give it to Game of Thrones, because Game of Thrones did kind of bring people to HBO on a massive scale, but then they fucked it all up.
Until they tanked it so hard at the end.
Biggest fuck you ever.
Some big movie releases: Cruel Intentions, 10 Things I Hate About You, She's All That, American Beauty, Varsity Blues, and Star Wars: The Phantom Menace.
Oh,
this is for me, this is freshman year of high school, and I saw every one of those.
Oh, I know.
Same.
Yeah, same here.
Without shame, I saw
my favorite She's All That memory is actually, I didn't see it in the theater, but I rented it at my grandpa's. My grandpa had already gone to bed, and my dad watched it with me, and the movie finished, and my dad just went, well, that was a C movie. He just wasn't into it. I don't care for it either. So when it finished, it was sort of all right, I guess we did that.
That's the one that's the trope about I took my glasses off, put my hair down, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I really remember.
And then a little history, because we learned when we started this that 1998 was a disgustingly horny year in history and pop culture. It was the start of the Clinton impeachment trial and all the sex scandal business. I forget there were other like sexual movies. A bunch of like weird sex stuff was happening in 98. Slightly less so, the Senate impeachment trial occurred of Bill Clinton and he was acquitted. Shakespeare in Love won Best Picture in a surprising win over Saving Private Ryan. And then Woodstock 99, the lawsuit against Napster, and then not so fun history, Columbine and JFK Jr. died. All in 1999. What a year.
What a year.
And my grandpa.
That was wild. I mean, you know what? Like, you were talking about your movie experience. That's fair because, like, I went and saw Cruel Intentions with my mom. So very awkward movie going experience. There's a few scenes in that movie that you don't want to be next to your mom while you're watching it. So, you know, I have very mixed feelings about that movie.
My uncle took me to see Talented Mr. Ripley, and it was very awkward when you see Jude Law's penis.
Yeah.
I don't think we didn't know that's where the movie was going to go. And I forget, it was like around Christmas and everybody else in the family was seeing something. I was like, that's lame. My uncle's like, well, we could go see Talented Mr. Ripley. I was like, okay, sounds cool. And he was like, great. And we, and then he just like staring straight ahead. Like, I can't believe I took my niece to this crap.
To be fair, didn't like nobody knew how that movie was gonna go?
No, yeah, that was one of those movies where the marketing for it was so misleading. You didn't know what was going on. Like literally, you just thought it was just gonna be like some guy who fell in, like you thought it was gonna be like Matt Damon goes to Italy and falls in love with Gwyneth Paltrow, and that's it. Like they didn't really tell you that he was gonna be wilding.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be just like a good impressions, you know, like voice impressions. And I was like, wow, I was really wrong.
It's such a good movie, though. It's one of
well,
my
even
favorites.
the beginning of that movie is also misleading because you think it's just like this sweet, innocent, like, oh, poor piano player trying to make it in the big city of New York, and then he goes to Italy and fucks shit up.
Yeah, he goes off in Italy.
He goes way on the opposite end of the spectrum. He's like, oh, he's not a poor little New York pianist anymore.
So for this episode, where we last left our heroes, Carrie and Big had broken up.
I'm sorry, heroes?
Sheroes. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I think he was called Herstory.
Yeah. Herstory in 1999.
That's not what I meant, but I like how you took it away from me. I appreciate that. That was very clever. How dare you?
I ask a question just because.
Absolutely.
Full confessional, I've seen probably 4 to 6 episodes of Sex and the City ever. And to your point of like a lot of them just on TBS with probably all the sex removed, and it's always the same 4, right? It's like it's always the 4 Friends episodes I see in syndication.
Right.
But why is he called Big? Is it his
he's like a big shot, like a big, like, as I've said multiple times, what does he do for a living? Business. We don't know what kind.
Yeah, they haven't said
They
yet.
never really specify. The most hilarious is in the pilot, Samantha pulls Carrie aside, is like, he's the next Donald Trump, but better looking, which opens up an entire wormhole universe of Mr. Big becoming president in the future, which really, really always messes with my head.
I hope not. Yeah, here's the thing too, and like that whole reference kind of messed it up with me for that character because like as soon as she said that, I was like, oh, now I cannot see him as anything but him, and like this sucks because he might be actually good. And there are moments in the show where he does have like moments where I agree with him, but I feel like awful inside for agreeing with him because of like how they reference.
Like every 4 episodes, I'm like, Chris, remember he's Mr. Big. Mr. Big is Donald Trump. Donald Trump is Mr. Big.
It's like my soul. It's like snatching my soul out every time. I'm like, he has a point. Like
yeah. So Carrie and him have broken up. She dumped him because he wouldn't say that she was the one in the first season finale, and so now she is spiraling on this island of Manhattan. So they go to a Yankee game, do some day drinking, have a good time. They go on and on about this rule of, or two schools of thought for getting over the breakup. You either have to spend half as much time as you went out. And so they were very unclear in the first season. We got confirmation that they went out for a solid year.
Oh.
That was our that was the answer we were finally given. So
Wait.
theoretically,
okay, no, keep going.
I was gonna say, so theoretically,
I was gonna say no, because like, remember in the last episode I discussed to you like my recent breakup was kind of the same situation, and that's how long we dated. It was like a year and a couple months, and that's when I got hit with the alternative, like, ultimatum. Excuse me, is like, hey, we're doing this, or we got to break up. I was like, oh, so. Wow. Yeah.
Chris is unexpectedly resonating with Sex and the City more than he ever imagined.
I swear to God, like I started watching this show at the perfect time of my life, because literally all the things that are happening in the show, I'm like have been going through within the past year. So it's like really weird.
Did you rebound with a ball player?
Yeah.
I did not rebound with a ball player. I was actually the Mr. Big in my scenario.
Got it.
In certain ways, not in all the ways. Not in all the ways.
So Matt, you didn't wear like a full suit to a dive bar where people are throwing keys to the air?
I would if I just bought a suit, I would wear a 3-piece.
They have to bring it home that he's a businessman. Though.
Exactly.
Like they're never letting it. He's always on business. He's always like listening to jazz. He's very busy.
He's a
even when he's dressed down, he's like business casual.
Yeah.
It's never like full on. Like he's never in like boxer shorts and a t-shirt. You don't see any of that.
It's never like it resonated for me though, because there are so many bars in New York where you just think you're in like a nice easygoing dive, and then a bunch of Wall Street bros come in and ruin it. So I feel like that happens a lot in the in the before time. When I used to go to bars. But I feel like there's places in the East Village that I'm just like, why is there a 3-piece suit? Big.
Yeah.
Do either of you ascribe to either of the breakup philosophies of the mathematical, you have to spend X amount of time, or you just kind of let it rush to get over it? There was no, hey, just feel how you feel and adjust. There was no third option.
It was very Charlotte, I thought, to be. And also I think I've seen the whole series when I was in high school trying to be cool. I think I watched it. Yep. And it was a very Charlotte thing, I thought, for her to be like, oh, it takes half the time. Blah, blah. But I also feel like that's something that, I don't know if Sex and the City like brought that to the mainstream, but I do feel like I've heard people say that in real life and really subscribe to that. And no, I definitely don't think that. And also I feel like at some point it becomes like, what if you're with somebody for 8 years? I don't need you to be going through a breakup for 4 years. That's too long.
You're not a widow mourning in the Victorian era. You're allowed to live your life.
Right. You don't have much. And actually, it's funny because you compare that to the Golden Girls and you're like, these ladies don't have that much time left. Like, they can't be mourning.
That's
forever.
true.
Right.
But I love that Carrie like makes it crack, and she's like, I always like a good math solution to a love problem. Which I was totally about. I was like, that was absolutely
right. Like Lauren was saying, like that's so much a Charlotte trait, because like Charlotte is what we discussed on the show, a goal dater. Like the only reason why she's dating somebody is to get married and have kids and have like that life structure. So like for her, that makes sense that she has that emotional stamina to date a guy, be with him for like a month and then get over him within 2 weeks. Like that's her wavelength. So like it made 100% like total sense that she was like, half the time you were together. So I feel like she would take 4 years to get over somebody that she was, because even in the episode, right, she dated that guy for 4 weeks, or 3 weeks. It was 3 weeks, and in a week and a half, she was done. She was like, all right, he was nobody.
I also love that she, like, again, learning about these character traits. Of course, I know about them, but like hearing you guys talk about them since you've been studying them, it's funny because she talks about, Mr. Ball Player number 2, the one who actually plays balls, and how she's like, that's such good breeding. I don't know why he does.
So we noticed a pattern in this first season. So Charlotte is very, prim and waspy and a little uptight and everything like that. And every dude she dates in the series is like, great on paper, but then is a like absolute freak show in some way.
Yeah.
There was the guy
like
who
one
wanted
small little quirk.
Who wanted to do anal with her. There was a guy who wanted to do a threesome with her. There was a guy who only wanted blowjobs from her. Like, and I just was like, what wavelength is she putting out that is like
But that's the thing. Like all these guys were like great guys, other than like that one little thing.
Yeah.
And even the guy who wanted anal was still nice about it. He like asked her, and she was like, "No," and he's like, "All right, cool, move on."
Yeah, we appreciated he respected the boundary, which a lot of other characters don't respect. A lot of boundaries in this series.
Yeah.
So it was almost progressive for 1998 for the guy to ask to do the sex acts with her, and then her say, "No, I don't want to do that," and him go, "Okay, I respect it. Let's keep making out," or whatever. It was like, whoa, it's a revelation. It can happen.
What a hero.
Yeah, that's wild.
The hero Gotham deserves.
What a great man for not putting it in her butt
without telling her. When she said no. Yeah, so I also think that it's hilarious that Charlotte couldn't bring herself to ask him why he's constantly adjusting himself and tries to buy him a pair of like briefs instead. And he flips out and he's like, "We're moving too fast. You can't buy me underwear."
Yeah, I didn't get that part. I was like, like a person buying me boxers is not like moving too. I don't know, like how like emotionally inept are you? Like, that's too intimate that she bought you boxer shorts? Like,
well, they had not had sex, I guess, so maybe that was part of it.
But he jumps right to like, and then you're moving in.
Yeah.
like he didn't buy a dresser for your boxers.
Right. Yeah.
But I think it's that scene where that, of course, because I am a fucking full-grown adult, I ask myself the same question, like, why can't you just say, "Why are you touching your balls?"
Right. Because they're all in their 30s in the show. Like,
I have a theory, though.
Exactly. But it's the same thing with, Samantha and small peen guy. She's just like, she like whips out the vibrator and he's like, "I think it might be better." And she's like, "Whatever, shut up."
I have a theory about that. Why these women won't tell their men what their flaws are is because they don't really like them. They think that they like them. They think they look good on paper. They're just good enough to like possibly give them what they want. I don't know about Samantha, but I'm looking at Charlotte because like if you truly love somebody and you think that it's all solid and you know this is the person that you want to be with and could be with, you can be 100% honest with them, like for sure. But anytime that you can't, like a little thing like that, like, "Hey, would you stop touching your balls?" Like if you can't say that, that means you're not really in love. You're just holding on to the idea of what they could possibly bring to you in the future.
It does feel like a fair barrier, though, to falling in love if you're dating someone and they're constantly adjusting themselves in front of everyone you know. Like, it might be hard to get over that to like get to the place. But also, like, how has no one said anything to him? It doesn't seem like he's like not doing this in his regular life all the time.
Maybe just around her. Maybe when she's around, his nuts just itch.
I also would question her financial know-how because that's one expensive pair of underwear to buy at Barney's. So maybe that's what set him off. He's like, "She doesn't know how to spend money. These underpants are $30."
What is Charlotte's profession, or does she have one?
She is works at I think like an art curator at an art gallery.
Yeah. She
basically classic New York.
Classic New York.
I write my 50-word column twice a week.
Yeah. And I live in this fabulous apartment.
I also work in an art gallery. I love it. It's so funny because she says I was laughing in that scene because she's like, I happened to be at Barney's today, or like I was shopping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I do on weekdays.
The best a dude would get out of me would be like, "Hey, I was at Target and I saw these. And I had a coupon on my red card for you."
It's a
enjoy. Yeah.
Not in the like intimacy way that he freaks out, but I do think it's weird to buy underwear for somebody that you haven't had sex with yet if you're dating.
That's fair. That is.
Because how does she know what size he is? Like underpants sizes.
He got an extra large because of his giant balls.
Low key, if you think about that too, right? Like, because like if they haven't had sex yet, that means like in some way maybe he thought like she's been snooping through his shit.
Oh yeah.
How do you know his size and everything like that? So that means you've been in drawers looking around and then you went shopping. And now that is a little too intimate because there's no reason you should be going through a man's drawers. We learned that in season 1 when Miranda did that shit and found the porno tape.
Yeah, and
I love you bringing it back around. This is great.
But then so it was like spanking porn, and then she spanked the guy like while they were walking home from a date without like telling him or asking him about it, and then being like, "I thought that's what you liked," and he was all upset and that's what we're talking about boundary wise. Like that was clearly a private thing for him that they had not come to that like kink discussion yet, or no one's kink shaming, but like also she didn't talk or ask about it, and so he dumped her.
Just bring that up. That's like when you like Facebook stalk someone, you're like, how's your Aunt Judy? Oh, you never told me about her.
Yeah. To be fair though, to for Miranda, like she shouldn't have been snooping, but like also maybe don't leave a woman you just had a one night stand with in your apartment. Like you know what I mean? Like even if you do want to see her again, just don't leave her there. Be like, hey, listen, I'm going to work. You should go to work too. Like, we just met. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
get out.
You don't know who she is, right? Like she could tell you that she's a lawyer, but she could also be a thief. Yeah. You don't know this woman. You know what I mean? You come back home, fridge is empty, furniture's gone. She could clean your whole shit out because he was going on a trip. Remember, like he was getting on a flight that morning to go out of town. So like she could have had movers come through and take all his shit. He could have came back to just a bare bones apartment. You don't know this woman. Redheads are crazy.
Her hair in this episode too is very Annie Lennox, which I think is like a little bit of a jump from the last season.
Oh man, yeah, she's got a. We initially I brought up fashion in like the first episode, and then I kind of dropped that topic because the fashion was so 90s and not very exciting and great. And this is especially a bad one for Miranda because there's the brunch outfit where she like puts on the beanie and is wearing like a snowsuit basically in the middle of New York. And then when she's out on the street and sees the ex who broke her heart, she's in the dumpiest overalls ever put on a human. And like again, another ski jacket and a baseball hat
first.
Yeah.
You have her something that like scans down her body as she runs away and it just keeps getting worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like husky little boy overalls. Like they're huge. They do not fit her at all.
Right. They were not slim fitting at all.
Yeah.
She pulled that straight from her dad's closet. She's like, these are mine. I want these now.
But did anyone else wear overalls in 1999 in high school?
That's what I was thinking. I was like,
thought they were pretty cool.
Yeah,
no, they were.
Awesome.
No, they were.
You just gotta get ones that fit you.
Yeah. Really it. Okay, so now that we're talking about her, gotta ask, because in the last season we ended it with her and Skip like kind of rekindling things, and now when we come back in season 2, he's nowhere to be found. Did she do it again? Did she fuck him over again?
We have an unexpected love and affinity for her on again, off again boyfriend Skipper.
I know, but you guys kind of flip-flopped on Skip because I went through and I listened to some of the first episode.
I was
not sure about it. Yeah, you were anti.
I was very anti-Skip.
Came around though.
I came around because he got done dirty by Miranda, even though he did dirty by dumping the girl mid-sex because Miranda called. But then he went over to Miranda, she had sex with him, and then she was like, no, I don't want a relationship. He got mad, and we thought, all right, Skipper, you made some mistakes, but you're manning up for yourself, and you're taking charge. Good job, my guy. And then the last season finale, he was like, oh, hey, Miranda, I prayed we'd get back together. And she's like, let's go back to my place. And we were like, no!
Yeah.
You had made so much progress.
And look, and she came in this, and that's the day too. So I'm feeling like she did him dirty again because we opened this season and she's all depressed and like trying to hide it because all of her friends got men and she don't. I'm like
wearing giant overalls.
Yeah, but where's Skip? Yeah, you know, so
where I was doing the Real Housewives of New York thing. What are you doing here without Skipper? I have a question because you do both live in New York. Have you bumped into people that you didn't want to bump into in a large major city? I mean, I know we're in LA, but
yeah. And I actually noted, I was like, that's actually kind of a very like apt voiceover.
Really?
I thought it was kind of, because I think it's just, especially in Manhattan specifically.
Okay.
Writ large New York City, if you're like in a weird place, but I don't know, even still, if I'm in a weird place in Queens, sometimes I'm like, what are you doing here? And it's like I don't have too many enemies, so it's not often like somebody I don't want to see.
Sure.
But I can absolutely see that happening for sure. And plus with these women, like they're only in like 4 different places. They take taxi cabs to Yankee Stadium, which is like, the easiest subway to take. So I don't doubt that they're only in like 6 places and they always see the same people.
They never take the subway in this show, ever.
I was going to ask you that.
You think Samantha's getting on the subway, Elizabeth? You really think Samantha is?
Not Samantha.
Yeah.
But
never get on the subway.
Lauren, would you agree that like even the subway ride to Yankee Stadium during a game is like even acceptable for these women to be on? I don't know. I feel like that's like the easiest one.
Yeah, I mean, it also like sometimes in New York, the subway's just faster than taking a car because like of traffic and stuff. And I do, like I feel like going to Yankee Stadium, there's a very quick subway there. But I will say, the crowd on that subway is horrendous. So maybe they just need to avoid it.
There isn't a first class compartment. Yeah.
Yankees fans and Red Sox fans are the worst baseball fans on the planet. And you know when they're there because they will let you know where they're from, who they're rooting for, without you even asking.
Well, don't forget the Dodgers beat the hell out of a Giants fan here in LA. We put that guy in a coma. He lived, but
Jesus Christ.
Fair.
I'm from Philadelphia, and we once threw batteries at Santa Claus, so I'm going to reserve the right to have the worst.
I was going to say, Philly's pretty bad.
That was I
was real quiet when I was saying that. She was like, I mean, I don't know.
I learned that during the Biden win when they were like arguing about counting in Philly, and people were like, "This is the city whose motto is fuck around and find out. We threw batteries at Santa. Don't try that shit here."
Wow.
Yeah, and like they'll always break out. It's not so the Phillies are different, but the Eagles is like the the big thing, and they will break into an Eagles chant at a funeral. It's like there's no rules about that. So I'm familiar with the overzealous.
Dude, real talk. If I lived in Philadelphia when they won like 3 years ago, I would have moved because like I know that city was in chaos after they won the Super Bowl, especially after beating the Patriots too to win it. Oh my God.
Yeah,
people probably died that night. I can't believe there were not more fatalities. It was insane. That parade the next week too. Forget about it. I saw a video. There was some guy eating horse shit on the ground. Like he was so like drunk and excited that they won the Super Bowl. He's like, you know what? Feces. Face.
Oh my God.
That's what I'm.
Love my hometown.
Yeah. We do this sketch show, and several years ago, I forget what prompted it, but I wrote a sketch about like the fifth friend of the group who was always late to everything, and she's like, because I take the subway to get here, I can't afford a cab all the time, you guys.
Perfect. It's perfect.
Also, let's talk about how Carrie came to a Yankees game dressed like fucking Cruella de Vil. Like, what is she doing? Why? Why?
She loves that ratty fur coat.
Oh my God.
Can I ask you another question? I didn't get this reference, and I don't know if it's because I'm not like anti-Semitic. Miranda knocks on the door and she goes, "Get your coat on, Anne Frank. We're going out." Like, is that
what?
What the fuck, dude? I figured out what the line is, and I was like, because she's like hiding in an attic. Like, what?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, because she was trying to avoid Mr. Big. So
yeah,
and Frankish. I guess Mr. Big is the Nazis.
Yeah, Mr. Big is the Nazis.
Oh shit, he is Trump. Fuck.
Yeah, it's a weird choice because I would have been like, "Hey, quit being a hermit," like, and that would have been it.
Or just if you wanted to reference somebody, like, just I don't know. It's very very bizarre.
Well, we definitely know it was 1999.
Writing, but that line, like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
that's a tough one.
That's for sure a testament of the times that it was in because 2021, that line would not fly. Like somebody would see that in the script and be like, "You're fucking fired. You're gone." Like whoever wrote that, get out now.
There was a shot at Giuliani though, which I loved within the game because like he, like it was about smoking and whatever. But I also, it's interesting because it was 99. You couldn't have said that 3 years
right? Because everybody loves
you can't say anything bad about Giuliani.
Yeah. That's wild.
True. Fuck, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. Hey, 1999, early 2000, Giuliani was the dude.
Yeah.
I don't know where he turned. I don't know.
Came back down again.
So that's so weird though. You were saying that like it's possible that you could run into your exes. Like LA I guess is a bigger city, but like I have exes and stuff like that. I've never run into any of my exes after we broke up, which is wild because like I still hang out at the same places where I had met them, and I still don't see them. So
maybe they're avoiding you. I'm just kidding.
Also, like
I'm like Carrie. I was here first. I was here first. You move, yeah.
But like, I also think that I don't know if it'd be true these women, but like my theory is that they only go to the same 6 places, but they also don't ride the subway. I see people on the subway all the time. So that's
yeah, I agree.
Like, we're not in cars in LA all the time
I think
to have your own private little, moments.
An advantage, so to speak, for LA that like because it's so spread out, you have to drive everywhere and go separate places. That's like true. There's not a lot of crossover. That said, I did get rematched with somebody at a dating app, and I forgot who they were until they reminded me, because they're like, I think I went on a date with you a few years ago, and I was like, oh no, it couldn't be me. And they were like, oh no, we went to such and such a place, and I was like,
Yo.
But also 5'10" my ass, my bro. Sorry, you weren't 5'10".
Wasn't that an episode in How I Met Your Mother that like Ted ended up like dating, like going on a date with a girl that he like did before?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my God, that's so wild.
So I stopped the conversation there because I was like, oh, well, I didn't like you enough to actually date you the first time, so we're just gonna.
I think that being gay and like in the gay community, it's much more frequent that you're like running, because also like in New York there's like one lesbian bar, so like you're probably gonna see somebody you match with on a dating app. And in Philadelphia actually, which is I don't know, I guess maybe it's like a smaller city, I feel like I was more afraid of landmines there because like I would see them, but in New York, not so much. I agree, Sarah. I think on the subway, I've seen people, but I also think there's like a code of conduct on the subway where if you see somebody and you don't want to talk to them and you both like mutually agree, you just like don't, which, I'm all for.
I love an unspoken rule of like crossing paths, but not saying anything and being like, good day, good day.
Yeah. Just like pretending you don't see them. That's what I do.
I saw you see me and then we're moving on. I got it.
And then you go home to your girlfriends and you're like, that's who I fucking saw.
Guess who I saw? Because like that happens, Miranda sees the ex and Carrie sees Pig at the bar, and then they make their friendship is mended because they do the little fake out where she's like, I had to get to a payphone. I know we're in a weird place, but I just need to see, will you meet us at our spot? And it's Miranda.
It's hilarious. I was like, all right, it's a stretch because like it's not weird between Miranda. She just thought they were insufferable talking about guys' balls all the time.
Yeah.
That's fair.
At brunch, no less.
Which like, it was like you said before, Chris, it was like totally transparent that it's like she's jealous in a way. And but also like I've also been there where you're just like, what are we doing with our lives?
I mean, low key, that was like, it was kind of that whole scene was kind of meta because there was kind of like taking a jab at like, female writing, how it was in the 90s, and like every time females were together they were always talking about men, so it was like a little jab, which is kind of ahead of its time because like now it's like the cool thing to say, but like back then that's kind of groundbreaking if you didn't.
That's true. I didn't think about that. When did the Bechdel test come out, like
as like a thing that people referenced? That's a good question. Let's see,
I mean, we're going way back pre 9/11 here, so I don't know.
Right.
Good Giuliani and
right. We're good Giuliani.
Before Giuliani had like the wild veneers and like the fucking West Indian fits as bottom teeth. Because this, have you seen him? Like, how are you so rich and you only got the top row? Like, come on, bro, you got to get both. You can't have the wild yellows down here and then like the fucking porcelains up here.
I mean, his hair dye's like dripping down his face. I don't know who's doing his looks, but it's not working.
Teeth are expensive, so if you can't even get the fucking hair right, you're
so the Bechdel test really it was first created in 1985.
Okay.
But I feel like, I'm sorry, I'm scanning this Wikipedia really quickly. I feel like let's see. It looks like it came into play around like the early 2010s. It was added to the Oxford Dictionary in 2018. So I want to say like 2015, I feel like, maybe 2013.
Oh, wow. So
that sounds right, because I also feel like Miranda's almost painted as like the villain for being mad at them for talking about men all the time. And that would never, I think it's different, obviously, watching the show in 2021. But I feel like it's like demonized a little bit, that she's annoyed at her friends for only ever talking about men. And then the big reveal that Carrie was calling her and not Big is like, I feel like so many women at the time were like, you know, like watching this show and like, oh, I love my friends. So like, that was probably such a big moment. And for me, I was watching it and I was like, oh my God, this show is so dumb.
Yeah. Because it does pivot. Like, I think the series pivots more into the friendship aspect. Because the first season was definitely like weird sex person of the week, you know, for people to be dating. You know, Charlotte had a weird guy, Miranda had weird guys, Carrie had Big mostly. There was occasionally another dude or two, but it was mostly Big. Samantha, a different person like every episode. And that's what they sort of started as, where like it was like vignettes of sex and the city, and you had like your man on the street things, which they do have here. They're starting to taper off in a big way, and we get rid of them entirely this season.
I love those,
but I do love the man on the streets. They're fun.
Yeah, great.
Because I like the guys at the game who are like, if you cry, it's over, bro. Like, you're the one who cry. But I love the hot dog lady who's like,
change your name, change your phone number, change your job. That was the best.
They're all bums. I was like, yes.
And then she goes like, she's like, what are you laughing at? Like, I really hope that was just like an extra who couldn't help himself.
Yeah.
And like,
that's what it felt like. And
I really hope it was spontaneous. Yeah, because that was perfection.
But yeah, so it's as they move forward, and I feel like a lot of people have said like, oh, ultimately the show is about friendship and the four friends are the core of it. But definitely in that first season, not so much.
Yeah. So let me ask you, the ladies, this. I really want to know. So they're talking, we were talking about the rules of breakup and like how long it takes and stuff like that. Now, do you believe that you actually truly ever get over somebody? Like if you actually love them, do you actually ever get over a person?
I think there's always going to be a part of you that I think it is going to be an ebb and flow, right? Where it comes up in unexpected ways, even if you're totally happy with like a new partner or it's funny because like not a personal experience, but let me bring my Golden Girls knowledge into this. It's like when you're a widow or a widower, right? It's like you know, somebody passed away or like against your will, you didn't divorce them, you didn't, it wasn't a bad thing, and you can happily remarry, you can, find love again and all that kind of stuff, but it's not like you lose that part of that person. So I think a lot of it probably depends on like how bad of a breakup it was and like where you fit in that, where you broken up with, or how you coped with. Did you cope by just saying that they're a fucking asshole, and just writing it off? But like I feel like there's always going to be a little something, and it's always, it could be like disappeared for years and then come back just in a weird way.
Okay.
Do you believe Carrie is quote unquote like living well is the best revenge because she gets it page 6 and it looks good when she bumps into Big? Is that like a aspirational, like, yeah, I want to be the person to thrive?
I think definitely after a recent breakup, you're like, that's, and also what better revenge than being on page 6 with a Yankees baseball player? Like that's like the ultimate.
A handsome as hell,
right?
Baseball player. Really I gotta give credit. He was really good looking.
And she looks great too. Like it's like the ideal situation. But I think that you do. I mean, personally, I feel like I'm over every single one of my exes, and I also don't have any ill will towards them, which I feel like is sort of like, for me anyway, like that's the defining characteristic of being over somebody. Like I don't have any feelings really, like bad or
So what you're saying, Lauren, is you broke up with all your exes. That's what you're trying to say. Because usually the people who breaks up with everybody ain't got no ill will.
He's from Philly, man.
Yeah.
Lauren's
out here
she whipped a battery at him and it was over.
Because reason why I asked that question is because we saw in the show, Miranda runs into her ex, and it had been 2 years since they had been broken up, and she saw him with, to be fair, she did see him with the girl that he broke up with her for. Yeah, that's gonna hurt on any, that's gonna hurt on any level, like even if you are over it, like, but I don't even know, because like sometimes, like, living well is not enough, because like you need to see them see you living well, you know what I mean? Like Carrie kind of got that by being in the paper, but what do we have, like Instagram? Like
Yeah, that's what we make that at K6.
Yeah.
You're like, look how well I'm doing. Look at my food.
Yeah.
Or you just take the subway back and forth until you eventually run into them. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. I am watching a TV show where there's a lady, she's getting a divorce, and like she kept going to like the spot where her and her husband met, trying to run into him, and then he like walks in with like this really hot girl, and like it just destroys her. I was like, why would you do that to yourself? That's just so like, that's like, why? I wouldn't go to a place where like, especially if it's the place where y'all met, you know what I mean? Like that's already gonna bring you down a little bit.
Sometimes you meet someone at work and then you move on to another job, and then you still go to like work potluck Thanksgiving things with the mutual friend group, and you know, shit happens, whatever, it's fine.
Oddly specific. You want to tell us a little more?
No, it was never really a formal dating thing. I've brought him up before, but I got kind of strung along, and I kind of let myself get strung along with a guy that I worked with, and who did, I think, genuinely like me, but I don't know what he wanted at the end of the day. And so I eventually got laid off and found other jobs and whatnot, but I'm like still friends with like that work group, and like a couple of my best friends I met there. So there's still like a Thanksgiving thing people do, and so I see him at the potluck every so often. But he still likes to talk to me, and I think he got in trouble with his girlfriend last time for talking to me.
There you go.
That's as close you get as being on page 6.
That's about, yeah. And I also have to point out that I was going through chemotherapy at the time and did not have my hair. I was wearing a cap, and I walked out with my friend, and we got in the car, and I yelled, "Still got it," at her. She was like, "Fuck yeah, you do, bro." Because she's one of the best.
That is
man, that's another level. That's a whole nother level of jealousy right there. Like you were going through chemo, and she still was like, "Who is this bitch? Who is this dying ass bitch that you talking to?" Like, whoa,
who's that fucking zombie you're talking to?
Oh, you like dead bitches now? That's what you into? Like, whoa, hey, whoa. Have a cocktail, relax, breathe.
Because I'm just saying they left earlier than I thought they would from that party. And
that's
I was
wild.
Like, hanging out with friends, and my one friend was like, "I think he got in trouble," and I was like,
"You know what? That's good for you too, because like if she's that jealous, you know he ain't happy, because he cannot, like, there's no kind of freedom that he has to like relax around her. He's like, every time she comes in the room, he probably like tenses up.
It's all speculation. I have no idea. Obviously, I don't know.
It's true. I know it. It's true.
Yeah, but it is
true.
But it is
I'm
100% true.
Yeah, I'm going with it true. Yeah. Okay, so let me ask y'all this. Now I have to ask y'all, you know, we're talking about if you ever get over rest. Is it okay to have a rebound, or is it wrong?
I don't know.
I think if the rebound, as long as you're not stringing someone along and like they think it's serious and you're not serious, I think it's fine. I think that sort of like in between Charlotte and Samantha, sometimes it's okay to date someone for like however long while not thinking you're going to end up with them. I think there's value in dating somebody for fun, or like just to have the experience. And I think that especially, you know, women like Charlotte don't get that at all. And people like Samantha are like, so like not relationships at all. But I do think there's a middle ground there, and a lot of rebounds kind of fall into that. And also like one of the best ways to get over a breakup, I think, is like doing whatever makes you feel good. And if that's like hooking up with the new Yankee, that's fine.
Yeah.
Lord is a savage. You are out here in these streets. You
don't think, okay.
By the way you talk, there's a bunch of men right now depressed as fuck over Lauren right now. I can guarantee you. I got a list a mile long. You said you came up with that answer. Wait, like you out here. I know you. I see it. I see it. Broken hearts all over NYC.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, it's a tri-state area, man. It's not.
I don't want a misreputation.
No.
Also, if they're men, they're going to be really depressed because I'm what you call a gold star lesbian. So.
Fair enough. Sorry, I apologize.
I totally agree with you. I think it's, but again, it's communication, right?
Yeah.
You fucking tell the guy you think it's kind of weird when he touches his balls and you just want more information. You tell the dude with the small penis that we have to talk, or we have to use a dildo because this is what sex is to me. And then you fucking tell the ball player, who actually should have picked up on these cues with this like parting the Red Sea moment of like she ran into an ex she's still in love with, dude. You just explain why you're fucking crying on the street and just say, hey, let's fuck around. I literally yelled, hey, Yankee at you when I met you 3 seconds before. Like, you can't think that I'm trying to marry you.
I feel a little bad for him because he seemed like a nice guy because he wasn't gonna like he was like portrayed like, wait, why are you crying? Are you okay? And
I don't know if he seemed nice, he just seemed simple. You know what I mean? He just seemed, like
that's not savage.
That's not he's just simple. He's just a simple little dude. He didn't know, he doesn't know what's going on.
What does she call him? She calls him like your Kurt or your Brief or something like that. And he's like, you making fun of me? Because she's like, what did you think of the first Dolce & Gabbana party? And she's it was cool. Yeah.
Simple. He's just
succinct. She calls him succinct. He's like, are you calling me dumb?
Yeah. Simple.
That's fair.
No, you know what? No, actually, Lauren, I do agree with you. Like, I feel like here's the thing. If you are going to have rebound, I think you kind of got to let the person know, like, look, I'm just like, I'm not trying to be with anything. I'm not trying to like, do anything serious. I just got a relationship. I'm just looking for fun. If that's not what you're looking for, I'm telling you now. So do what you got to do over ahead. Because I think that's where like the whole rebound thing kind of gets messy. It's when like you jump into a relationship acting like you want to be in a relationship. And I think most people do it by accident because they are grieving over an ex. So they like run into a relationship as soon as possible just so they can like be distracted from that ex. And then they realize like so-and-so down the line and like, oh, actually, I don't really like this person. This person
like Carrie. I feel like Carrie like thinks she likes him or like subconsciously, like is into dating him. But yeah, she's obviously not over Big.
I think she was interested, but then she saw Big again and was like, fuck, I'm still not over it. But like, how would you be? You dated for a year and it's only been a month since they broke it up? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Unless you're my ex, 3 months. But hey, I'm not talking shit. I'm just saying my ex was in a relationship 3 months after we broke up. So maybe some people can get him, or I'm just some people have that emotional bandwidth. I don't know. But like, I'm just saying, if you're with somebody a year that you're in love with, like you just went from, hey, you got to tell me I'm the one, or we got to break up, and then like a month later, you're dating a Yankee. Like, of course you're not over it. So like, of course, if you see this guy again, and I think potentially, she kind of wanted to see him again. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
because there were all those shots where you think she's seen him and it was somebody businessman.
You know what that reminded me of? Do you remember the old Full House episode where they go to like Disney World and DJ keeps seeing Steve everywhere?
Oh my god!
and then she thought he was Aladdin, which was the joke because the guy who played Steve on Full House was.
So meta.
Which, of course, like in my mind was so long ago before this show, but it was probably just like 5 years or 4 years or something.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Because at what point did ABC start making all their shows go to Disneyland or World?
That's why Disney was about to buy that shit. That's why they're like, hey, everybody write us an episode where they go to Disneyland.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch went there for no reason.
Family Matters, they went there.
Roseanne went
Meets
there.
World, Roseanne, and all those ended up.
Vertical integration.
And a lot of those shows ended up in syndication on the Disney Channel. Like that was like if you were up at 2 a.m., you could watch Step by Step on the Disney Channel.
Lauren, if NBC had a world with the Golden Girls, definitely would have gone there.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
The parents don't get a world.
Well, speaking of Golden Girls, I'm sure people have done this, but who of the foursomes who matches up character-wise? I feel like Rose is Charlotte.
She said yes.
Blanche is Samantha.
Mm-hmm.
That's an easy one.
Yeah, and then I suppose. Why am I blanking on Ma's name? Oh my god,
Sophia.
Sorry, I was trying to call her Estelle, and like that's the actress's name, and I just like could not remember Sophia for some strange reason. I feel like Sophia's maybe supposed to be Miranda, and Dorothy is Carrie.
That sounds right to me. Actually, on that Samantha Blanche, you know, Samantha like goes in or doesn't go into the locker room, I guess, but like gets a glimpse of the locker room. And that is a very small plot point on a Golden Girls thing, but it comes up a couple times that Blanche has been in the Miami Dolphins locker room. And I literally wrote in my notes, I was like, oh my God, there's so many similarities.
Blanche out there meat gazing. Okay, I see you, Blanche.
I don't know, Blanche is quite a
technical
boundary creep. Like, Samantha has some pretty big boundary issues, and I fucking love that guy's like, can I help you?
Yeah, like, ma'am.
I know, I wrote like reverse sexism because like that would never fly the other. Like it wouldn't even be funny the other way. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh hell no, hell no.
And this we're like, haha, she's looking at their business unprovoked, so to speak. And they were like,
I mean, it's provoked. She has a guy with a small penis. She got, you know, she kind of has a right to look, I guess. You know? It's not satisfied. But you know what, though? You got to give her credit, though, because she's fucking trying, okay? She's trying. She had him doing all the positions. She tried to bring in the vibrator. He got offended, which that's where I would have drew the line. If I was her, I'd be like, oh, you mad about this? Do you know, you see what you got down there? Do you see it? Have you measured?
But she's never talked to him about it in the first place.
He needs to say it to him.
That's
He probably thinks he's a white dude. He thinks he's top of the world all the time. She's like sliding. He's like he does a fucking like Jack on the front of the Titanic.
He's the king of the world.
He's really into this sex, so he's like, she must be into it too.
He's like insufferable too from the very beginning when we see them when they're like making out before she gets in the car and he's like, don't let anything happen to my princess. Like, he's gotta go.
I know. Well, they met in the season finale, and how they met was kind of weird. Like she was chilling at like a jazz club and he just like walked up to her out of nowhere, and we got like kind of creeper vibes from him. We weren't really
interesting
on board.
His flirtation was very like, I'm gonna put you in my van and
Actually, that really ties in well with the "Don't let anything happen to my prince." Very Silence of the Lambs.
Oh my God, we're back! Sex Crimes of the City.
Yeah, we've rebranded the show "Sex Crimes of the City" very specifically from I think the second episode of the first season. Carrie talks to an artist friend named Barkley, and he is she's at like his loft, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I have sex with models and I record it, but I don't tell them." So he has like hidden cameras, and then he shows her tapes of it, and she's doing like, "Oh, that's interesting." And I'm like, Carrie, call the police. Get out. Right. We don't know what that paint is made of. It's probably human blood. All those models, what happened to them? We don't know.
It's like played for laughs. Like,
it's played for laughs.
Well, he's an artist, so he like has all these like old school TV set up, but it's all the different videos on every single TV of like all the women
of all the models. And then the continuing the played for laughs moment is Samantha finds out about it and wants to be included in that. And when she gets there, he's like, "Oh, I don't really want to." And she's like, "No, I want you to." And then like it's like a live recording, so like the camera's on her, but she can see it in the like wall of monitors he's built out of ancient TVs that are probably from dead people's homes. And then she's all turned on. I'm like, yes, this is sexy. And I'm like, the amount of corpses he's dropped in the Hudson is through the roof.
Seriously.
That's
So we if we ever make merch, we're gonna have like a Barkley did it, or like call the FBI if you see Barkley.
Have you seen this man?
Have you seen this man? And the worst part is,
oh my God,
Barkley is played by I think it's Gabriel Macht, who was on Suits. So he's like going on to other things. So we probably legally can't put his face on a t-shirt, but
that's fair.
Still, it's then I forget. There's been other like weird instances where we're like, I think that's a sex crime. So we just keep calling it Sex Crimes in the City.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Samantha would get written up for peeping though, I think for sure, in the locker room.
But like,
nah, because like you got a bunch of testosterone fueled baseball players. They probably like, I'm surprised like none of them just didn't like whip it out, but like get all you need, like all of it, all the glory, bask in it. I'm surprised she didn't just walk in. Honestly, she showed some real restraint because I'm surprised she didn't just walk into the locker room. Real talk.
I thought she was going to, like, when they were like, oh, she hung back, and I thought she was gonna like just strut in there and be like, "Don't mind me, fellas, just browsing."
Just browsing.
It is official.
It's very Blanchism, yeah.
Yeah.
She has like made it known that she is a size queen. Like she does not want anything less than what she expects. So like that was like that's what's so weird that she's like still with this dude because like so she doesn't describe his penis as small. Like she describes it as less than that. And so
I'm hot dog.
Yeah. Like the chick in the hot dog.
Kosher?
Yeah.
That was the best line I ever heard in my life.
So
Like,
good.
is it kosher? I was like, no. like,
I also like
Savage.
that little exchange because like, you know, fucking Carrie's like smoking a cigarette,
Yeah.
fuck you, Giuliani. And like I like that exchange because it's like when you're going through something really tough with some of your best friends, at least in my friend groups, it's like they always try to like my friends will try to lighten the mood by making a total joke on it at you know, like to basically make you break because she's like, don't make me laugh. And you're like, she's like pouring her heart out about the thing that is closest to her heart, which is giant dicks that she sleeps with. But I thought that was like a good moment of like friendship levity.
Yeah, it's a very
is laughing.
Because even Charlotte made a joke last in the season finale. She was talking. They were like all in the stall. She's like all distressed. She's like, his penis is small. She's like, well, is he good with his mouth? Like she's like trying to find the silver lining. Yeah. Like, you know, just throwing it out there.
Just trying to help.
But it wasn't like funny. It was like a mom trying to help you.
Yeah.
So kind of weird. It's like,
totally. Yeah.
You guys need any snacks?
Yeah.
It's like trying to problem solve.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't want the problem solving. Sometimes you just want to vent.
Can we like I just have to bring up something random.
Yeah.
Why is the lady rollerblading at the Dolce & Gabbana party?
Oh yeah. I meant to rewind and be like, what was she on? She's gliding and I didn't see that they were rollerblades.
It was definitely rollerblades, but like you don't see them until she just glides through. It just seems so unnecessary.
They got
like,
a
bigger budget.
They go to some hip, quote unquote hip, like New York hotspots.
Right.
But at a certain point, it feels like the Stefan joke where like, New York's hottest club is this Dolce & Gabbana party. This place has everything. Waitresses on rollerblades, Yankees.
Playing with their balls.
Men playing with their balls. An overpriced dress.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was hilarious though, because I thought we'd see more of it, right? Because I was like, okay, that was weird. And then, okay, this is the conceit. This is the Stefan, like, cool thing at this party. And then I was like, no, it was like super low budget.
Yeah. I think they get more elaborate as the series goes on, but yeah, I love some of their New York's hottest clubs never actually seem that exciting that they go to.
Yeah, it just seems like a bunch of people just standing around, like being seen. That's really like
that's what New York clubs are.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, not really, but
okay. I was like,
a lot of them are. And what I did think was very accurate about the Dolce & Gabbana party is that it had a soundtrack of in the background where you're like, "What? You're a Yankee? What about Miles Davis?"
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how that guy heard the boring
the timbre.
the white guy explaining jazz.
He goes, the authenticity of Miles' timbre. I was like, this fucking Yankee is like chewing gum at Dolce & Gabbana. He told you he doesn't like jazz. He doesn't know what authenticity or timbre means.
Yeah.
So, just stop.
He's like, you know what? I like Limp Bizkit. It's 1999.
Yeah.
To be fair, he probably did. He probably did. I feel like that's.
You see the movie? It just came out.
Yeah, it was weird too. Like a white guy trying to explain to another white guy about jazz. It's like, what's going on here? What's happening?
It's La This white guy is going to save jazz from this black guy.
Where's Ryan Gosling?
To be fair, we were talking about the talented Mr. Ripley earlier, and that was two white guys that were into jazz. So
yeah, very true. Yeah.
I guess that was like the theme of 1999: white guys into jazz. Way too into jazz. Like, dude, take it easy.
I know more about jazz than a jazz musician.
I totally forgot too that when she gives him the boxers and he's like, and then you're gonna move in, and then you're gonna say you hate my music.
Oh yeah.
He did say that. He did say
It's like such a baby. Oh my god. Go to therapy. That's what people in New York do. They go to therapy.
Oh, this show is very anti-therapy in a way. Because in the first season, Miranda does go to therapy because there's the threesome episode, and everybody says in the little friend group, like, I think Carrie picks Samantha, Charlotte picks Carrie for who they would have in their like threesome, and no one picks Miranda, and then she feels left out the whole episode, and then she's like at her therapist, and then she asks the therapist if the therapist would pick her for a threesome, and he's like, that's not an appropriate conversation.
I think you need to see someone else. Is what she said. It's like I'm gonna recommend you to somebody else.
Again, there's other future episodes where like therapy does come up, but it is treated as like unhelpful, useless, and stupid, but something that people continue to go to.
I feel like all of them, particularly Charlotte, should really go to one.
Yes.
Really get a lot of help. I mean, yeah, it's interesting to see how dated it felt, particularly because also like obviously we're watching the Golden Girls, which was in the late 80s, early 90s, and that like you expect to be dated. And also the Golden Girls wasn't necessarily, it was a sitcom, so it wasn't necessarily like this like groundbreaking show where I feel like Sex and the City was. And now like when I was watching this episode, I was like, wow, like they have terrible attitudes about everything, and like including therapy.
Because like Golden Girls is a sitcom. Sitcoms don't always strive for topicality because they're looking to be a little more evergreen, especially then, I feel like, because you want that syndication money and you want to be able to play it anytime, any day, and not have to be like, to not be like, oh, this is the episode all about this from this year. I mean, there's a few of those, but overall.
Yeah, it's like there's in the Golden Girls, there's a lot of dated references, obviously. Right. And there's actually a friend of ours who we also had on our podcast who's a big Golden Girls fan. He actually is coming out with a book this year that talks about every single dated reference in the Golden Girls. So if they say something that you're like, who the hell is that politician? You can look it up in the book, which I think is like
that's amazing.
His name is Matt Browning. Check it out later this year. It's pretty sweet. But I think that they have all these like really heavy topics that they did try to put through the sitcom formula, and it really works in a way that like you said, Lauren, like Sex and the City is supposed to be groundbreaking, like women talking about sex and all these things, but they went so heavy in on it that it doesn't actually last as long as we thought it would, I guess. But I like Chris, you pointed out earlier, like certain things about the show were actually groundbreaking in terms of like poking fun at the fact that women only talked about guys. Like there is a certain meta-ness to what they're trying to do. But when I had the same thing, I was like, I watched it and I was like, this is simultaneously like a little bit better than I expected and also kind of dumber.
And because they're very like progressive and like sex positive, so to speak, but also very retrograde in the sense that you still have to get married to somebody before you're 40, or they execute you. I don't know.
I've even said before that like Charlotte low key kind of, like I said, this is why her character itself is almost kind of advanced for the time being, because she's kind of like that internal misogyny that women go through, like in your own, like between you guys, you know what I mean? Because like there's there's people who are trying to move forward, and there's always that person that's still old school. It's like, oh, you shouldn't wear that, or you shouldn't act like that, like, or you shouldn't have sex with a guy on the first date, or he won't want to be with you. Like all these kind of antiquated ideas about love and marriage and dating, and she's kind of that voice throughout the entire, at least so far, and throughout this series. And I kind of love that, because even in shows around that time, like even in shows like now, you don't really see a character like that tackles that subject, because like nobody talks about it, because it kind of makes it seem like women aren't like all together. But there is that internal misogyny that, like, of course it is our fault. We kind of instilled those ideas. Of course, I'm not trying to relieve the blame, but it is a problem that is still like you guys got to deal with on top of male misogyny coming at y'all as well.
Oh yeah. But does Charlotte, like, and again, I know we're only top of the second season, but does she actually evolve? Like, does she discover that about herself, or does she just play that role?
Not exactly. I think she learns that role she's striving for is not all that great at the end of the day, and I don't want to spoil it for for Chris. of her, what happens to her in the future. I think she does learn to adjust her vision to be happier, but it takes a long time. Because at this point too, she's very obsessed with The Rules. Came up in the first season, that book, The Rules, that came out.
She's obsessed with rules.
God, really?
This bitch loves rules. She loves fucking rules.
Isn't that where the halftime breakup thing is?
I think so.
Rules,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And The Rules had. I think I deleted my note because I was like, ugh, these rules. I don't want to look at them. I had notes on like, what do we? Because they come up. It comes up specifically in an episode, but then she's very just like, yeah, no sex on the first date. And actually, there was a great Vox article that I mentioned where someone tried them, and I'm unclear if they tried them in like 2015 when the article was published, or it was like a republished thing. But it was terrible. It was terrible because you aren't supposed to, kind of state how you feel about things, or you have to, if they ask you for a date on a Thursday for that weekend, you have to turn them down because they should have asked you earlier. It's like, oh my God, like, no.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
like,
I think.
Go ahead, Lauren.
No, I think that the reason that Sex and the City, like I know we're all kind of like dunking on it a little bit, but the reason that Sex and the City and like Golden Girls and shows about 4 women, there's so many of them, Girlfriends and like all of these shows, like they all work because all the archetypes it's like an every woman thing. Like you have elements of Charlotte and Samantha and all of them, and everybody like wants to be Carrie, I think, at least initially, because she's like sort of the pinnacle of all of the aspects of everyone. But yeah, I think it's really important to have the Charlotte because like she moves it forward, and also like she does very much like over the top, but displays this like internal misogyny that you were talking about, Chris, in a way that like we don't really address directly often, at least not before this time. So I mean, like I am making fun of her a lot, but I do think she's very important.
Yeah, because there's a few instances where Carrie doesn't share things with Charlotte because she's worried that Charlotte will judge her or have like a negative reaction. Like Carrie has like a pregnancy scare at one point in season 1, and she tells Miranda and Charlotte, and she's like, don't tell, Miranda and Samantha, but she's like, don't tell Charlotte, they keep it under their hat because Charlotte would be very like, oh, you have to marry him, or you did, it's,
Yeah, you have to tell him. You have to
tell him. You have to marry him. You have to do, all these things.
Yeah.
And no one's ready for that conversation because it was still like she like only missed a period, but she was like, oh, I'm usually pretty on point. What's happening? So yeah, and we also concluded though that Charlotte is newer to the friend group.
Yes,
that was our discovery.
She has to be, man.
Based on certain interactions, that Charlotte is a good friend, but is a newer friend to the group.
Yeah, exactly. But I think like that there's always someone there in a group of friends that's going to be a little different than maybe some of the majority thinks. There's always going to be. I like that example is like, yeah, you could totally see some things where you're just like, can you not share it with so-and-so, or at least not in this way? Like, let me set it up. Yeah. Because I have to go down a certain path because I know what they're going to say, even if it's not like it's sort of like the rules type of person, but even if it's a person that's going to be like, you should do, you should fucking break up with, like that kind of stuff. And when you're just like, not what I'm looking for, thank you. Yeah.
So, like, I love so-and-so, but don't tell them about that.
Right. Or just like, you have to work with different people's personalities.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, but it's it's obviously because, like Lauren said, these are archetypes and they're always blown up, and that's why you have the Samantha's clearly Blanche, and Charlotte's clearly Rose, because they're like huge archetypes of the kind of naive, innocent one and tawdry slut.
Now I have a question for you guys, because we do see these kind of archetypes in friend groups and stuff like that on television, and we know that they exist in real life, but like, does like every girl have like this group of friends that like has this wide range of archetypes, or there's like some that like only like 1 or 2 of these, that because like it seems like, because in this situation, or like in shows like this, there's a good balance. Like everybody has these different views and there's a good balance, and they kind of like keep each other from stepping over the line at some point. does this happen in real life? Because I feel like you don't get all these archetypes in every like friendship that you have.
I think I've got a group of friends. I used to live in Portland, Oregon, so I have a big group of friends that I made like in my 20s, and it's pretty diverse. Like we're not. I think it's like I imagine being friends with someone like Charlotte in real life, and I'm just like, you'd be so insufferable because you're so different from the rest of us. It's just like she's a little too out there.
Yeah.
But I think those archetypes and those pieces, like Lauren said, are part of every woman. So like I've got a little bit of like all of them in me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe one is more outlandish than the other, but I do think it's the same thing personality wise. I have friends that are more on like sort of the prudish side. Hi, Gina.
Shout out to Gina.
Hey, Gina.
Hey, Gina.
Just as an aside, our friend Gina is like one of those like talks a big game. She's like, I'm going to all the lesbian bars. I'm gonna find like a woman. I'm gonna turn a straight girl tonight. And then like as soon as like the girl would be like, okay, she'd be like, oh my god, what the fuck? Liz is all her cool. She's so cool. But like you have friends that are more outlandish, or the friend that is always gonna bang on the first date. You have a friend that's gonna like be a little bit more reserved in decision making and think about it for a bit. You have a friend like Dorothy and the Golden Girls who probably prefers to read than to go to a tawdry bar. So I feel like there's little elements in each, and the more I like think about these archetypes, and like Lauren mentioned, it's like the Golden Girls and Sex and the City are only 2 shows of many that play with all of these types of female friendships and archetypes in them. And I think I've started recognizing that like personality traits in myself and in our friends.
Okay. What about you?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's definitely true. I was just looking up, did you guys, I think it was earlier, maybe last year, there was this psychometrics test that was going around that you took the test. It was kind of long, but it was like which TV character are you? It would give you like the really long, it was like a really long list. And I loved that. I felt like it was very accurate. And I have a bunch of friends who took it. And I felt like that was really sort of revealing because like it's a bunch of different shows. So it's not exactly like this where it's like you're this character, you're that character. And I felt like that was more accurate because if you take a Sex and the City quiz, like you could probably guess going in which one you're gonna get. Shout out to my Mirandas. I'm probably actually a Carrie. I'm a Carrie who strives to be Miranda. If I'm honest.
I'm a Charmanda. I know I'm a Charlanda. I'm a Charlotte Miranda.
Isn't that a
hybrid.
Pokemon?
It does sound like a Pokemon.
Yeah.
Charlanda, go.
What are you?
Right now, I think because of where I'm at in life, I'm more of a Samantha. But I think when I have my shit together, I'm more of a Miranda.
Great. Can't wait to vote for you for governor.
That's great. What about you, Elizabeth? Do you have these archetypes of?
I don't. Less so. I think I'm missing a Samantha in like the people I know.
I'll be your Samantha.
Yeah, I guess you're my Samantha, Chris. Thanks. But yeah, as far as girlfriends, I don't feel like I really have or know a Samantha, but like I feel like I know a kind of Carrie-esque person, some Charlottes and Mirandas, but yeah, no Samantha in that.
Man, once the world opens again, I'm gonna bring my gang down from Portland to LA.
Yeah.
I got a lot of Samanthas, and we'll mingle. Everybody will get laid. It'll be awesome.
It's gonna be great. I took that test you were talking about, Lauren. I got Lisa Simpson as my character.
That's a great one.
That's great.
I was so excited because I was not.
Yeah, perfect. So I was like, yeah, I had to think about Lisa. I was like, oh yeah, crushed it.
I felt very flattered because I was like, I'm gonna get, I don't know, someone a character I don't like or something like that, or a character that everybody hates or whatever. But then I was like, Lisa, hell yeah! I just hope it's like early run Simpsons Lisa, not the one they're doing her dirty now, where everything she tries to do is backfires, and they kind of made her insufferable in a way, and because no one can grow on the Simpsons ever.
Yeah.
I think my top was the youngest daughter from Downton Abbey, which I was like, all right, yeah. I was pleased with that.
Yeah.
I don't know that show.
I gotta go take this quiz now.
Yeah,
I
you
feel
guys
like I
gotta
remember
take
it going around. I probably did it then, but I don't remember.
Yeah,
I can't remember who any of my secondary people were. I think I took a screen grab, but it's so deep in the archives under all my cat photos that I don't know.
I've been doing this for a year, so
Yeah, that cat's had a lot of photo shoots, whether he wanted them or not.
I bet pets are just fucking annoyed by their owners. They're like, really? Pictures again? You saw me yesterday. I'm still the same cat, same color.
Do you ever leave? Like, I feel like my cat is literally like, do you have somewhere to go?
Could you just go?
get your coat on, Anne Frank.
Yeah, get your coat on here.
What a reference. I did not even pick up on that until you said it. Like, and I heard it again. I was like, she did fucking say that. Like, how?
Yeah, it blew. I'm glad you mentioned it because in the moment I went, oh, and then it moved so fast past it that I was like, oh, I guess they're going out to
They yada the fuck out of that. They're like, oh no, we're not gonna mention it. She said it, we're moving on. They're going to the Yankee game. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Being in New York, we're gonna say, yeah. That.
We discussed Justin Bieber saying, I think Anne Frank would have been a believer.
Oh, fuck.
He signed that in the guest book at the Anne Frank house.
Yeah. No, I don't think he meant ill will, but he's just dumb.
Simple. Just like the Yankee guy. Just simple.
Yeah.
Just simple.
You sweet summer child.
I'm from Texas. I know a lot of simple people. That's what I'm saying. I can spot a simpleton right.
Are you man too?
Yeah.
When he said that to her, it was like he was signing a ball for like a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
I just also love she's like, baseball's boring, whatever.
I have
So rude.
I know. I have to humble brag. I did catch a foul ball at a Red Sox game.
Do you know what the odds are?
No, but I do know that I went, oh no, and held my hands up because I thought I was going to get hit in the face with it.
That sounds
Did it hurt? I've always been so afraid that, like, I don't know, if a ball goes up, I'm like going under the chair. I'm so scared.
I full on dodged it. It kind of landed in my side, like in the chair. And I was like, oh, I didn't get hit. Because I'm not super unathletic, but I'm not great either. And I had a string of bad luck of sports equipment hitting me in the face. In high school, we were playing softball, and I hit the ball, and it bounced off the bat and went into my cheek.
God.
I got nailed like 3 times in the shin with a baseball when I was like in middle school with friends. Football hit me in the face when I had braces. I got pegged in the head with like a basketball in middle school. I had a lot of bad luck.
I've had my nose hit by a basketball like 7 times in my life, I feel.
I saw one time
the clueless balls to your face.
Yeah, that's why I tend to say it as sports equipment, because I'm like, I don't need to set anybody up for a balls joke when I bring this up.
So smart, so wise. One time at a Yankee game, actually, in the bleachers where they were, I saw somebody catch a ball in their beer.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Do you know what the odds of that are?
Lauren, I thought you were going to say that a fly ball at a baseball game is also a plot point in the Golden Girls.
Oh
no,
nice.
but it is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. For basically faking a neck injury or a concussion.
Well, I can tell you, catching a ball like bare hands, it sucks.
Yeah, it seems illegal.
Yeah.
That's why I like dodged it. And then there were so my brother, I was with my brother who was a huge Red Sox fan, because I was actually born in New Hampshire, but I grew up in Michigan. But for the like short time we were in New Hampshire when I was born, he got like hooked into Red Sox Nation as a kid and like never let go. And so he lived in Boston for a while. We went to a game together, but then while we were sitting in the thing, and we're like marveling, like, I can't believe I got the ball. Oh my god. 2 dudes behind me were like, hey, can we see that for a second? They were trying to steal my baseball.
That's savage.
They're like,
are you from Philly?
Yeah, that sounds like Philadelphia to me.
Because they were like asking to see, like, I think the stitching or something, some BS reason for me to hand it back, and I was like, no. I was like, you can look at it, and I kind of held it up like the One Ring or whatever, and then I like I was like,
with your eyes, not with your hands.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't recommend anybody trying to catch a foul ball with their bare hands. It's like somebody smacking you with their fist in your hand. It's not fun. I did it once. It's not fun. Not funny.
And I have one more note on the episode's lines of talking about when they're waiting for them to come out, and Samantha's drooling over their bulges, and Miranda's like, "He's wearing a cup." And she goes, "Well, his cup runneth over."
Yeah.
So good.
Listen, you don't understand. She's fucking thirsty, okay? She has not had any good dick in 2 months or something like that.
Wandered the desert for 40 years.
Any cup would do.
I totally get it. And I also relate to like the first time I learned about cups. And like kind of putting it together, being like, oh, that's why they're like, their bulge is so big. Got it. Okay. Like I had to have that in my head. I just love that Samantha's learning this, like, you know.
In her like late 30s, she's like, a cup? What's a cup?
Also,
honestly, I didn't know
careful.
They had that effect visually until like right now. Good for me.
Really?
I knew.
I know.
I mean, I knew that they were like kind of like a Spanx for it, you know, like makes it look nice, but I didn't realize that it
I'm sorry, wait, did you just refer to an athletic cup as Spanx?
No, that's jock strap.
Right, but like
that's
what's like
Spanx.
form, like it's like, you know, it like smoothes it out. I don't know. It looks nice.
Shapewear.
Yeah, it's shapewear.
I just love that literally Chris disappears
He
off
off
the
camera.
floor right now.
He said it smooths it out. Our penis is
Nice.
It gives you a clean line.
Just Ken dolls, like.
Well, you got to be careful though, because here's the thing: this an athletic cup is supposed to be made to protect the genitals, and so they can have a big cup, but it could just be all balls. So you got to be, you can't just see a big cup and be like, oh, he's packing. It could just be balls, and I mean,
it's very flattering.
It's flattering. Yeah, it makes it look like it's a thing down there, but it can still
like a push-up bra situation.
You might have got down there and take that cup off, like, oh, it's not running over. It's it's actually half full.
This cup is
half
empty.
full.
She needs to borrow Charlotte's boyfriend's underwear now.
Yeah.
Totally.
No, what Charlotte should have did was get a fucking athletic cup for her man, because maybe he would have stopped touching them shits. Like,
is he unclean down there? Does he need to like wash?
I thought she was gonna find out that he had like an STD. I thought he was gonna have like, you know, like fucking gonorrhea or something like that. Because like I don't know any guy who touches his balls that much. That's a whole nother thing. Like that's like this dude like clearly is like trying to keep himself from masturbating in public, and that's like,
I like the theory though. I have a theory now that it's like the reason he blew up so much before they had sex is he keeps starting these relationships because he thinks, like Charlotte, he should be in them, but he's so fucking afraid because he's got balls on fire that he hasn't dealt with yet. So he uses any excuse to blow up and stop the relationship before they sleep together. That's my new theory with VP of Miles Davis dickhole.
Miles Davis
maybe,
Incorporated.
that's what it is. Like maybe he's like a virgin, and maybe because like maybe his
maybe that's it.
You know, insecure about that, so he's like, I'm gonna talk about jazz all day and touch my balls. That'll scare her away.
Women that don't want to listen to my timbre of authenticity.
You're gonna hate my music and my balls. Get out of here with your boxer briefs.
The two most important things to me.
My music and my balls. I only care about two things in this life, Charlotte: my music and my balls. And you violated both.
Good day, ma'am.
Good day. Get out.
Well, speaking of a good day, how can someone have a good day by finding you guys on the internet? I'm so good at transitions.
Oh, all sorts of good days to be had. We're on enoughwicker.com, but we're also on pretty much every podcast platform that you can find. And we release new episodes of our podcast every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, which is an homage to when the Golden Girls was originally on the air.
And on Twitter and Instagram, we're just at Enough Wicker.
Nice. And if you want to have...
Very, very funny, by the way, on the social medias. So
I love following you guys on Twitter. It's great.
You put an S at the end of social media. Oh,
in
social media.
Well, you know, there's Twitter and Instagram, so it's social media.
I see. I think you've been watching too much Golden Girls. You've aged yourself by 30 years.
What year?
What year is this? Well, guys, if you want to have a good day, you got to go listen to Enough Wicker. And if you want to have a good smelling room, you got to go to arloaustralia.com. Get you some good candles. They're all 100% soy-free wax, okay? And there's no lead in them, and they're all ethnically sourced. So all her materials comes from Australia, and they all smell good. And she's got diffusers, reed diffusers. So if you're a little afraid of candles and lighting them and like leaving them and burning your house down, you can get a diffuser. Good for you. Be sure to go.
Love it.
And you can find us. We're on YouTube and the socials media, like Attorney's Channel.
Now that was even older. You just aged yourself.
You added extra letters. That's my grandpa right there.
I may or may not be Joe Biden, you guys. I've been called out for using old-timey phrases on our other podcast a whole bunch. And they're like,
y'all don't even know.
How old are you?
Y'all don't even know.
I said willy-nilly to a teenager, and she's very sweet. She runs a really interesting podcast. Unfortunately, I'm blanking on what it is right now, but she kind of sort of talking about cancel culture actually, and like investigating it. She's like 17 or 18 or something, and she was a guest on the TMI where you guys were a guest as well. And I said something blah, blah, willy-nilly. And then our other host, Peter, was like, yeah, I have a question for you. Yeah, he's like, have you ever heard someone say willy-nilly?
Yeah.
And so I'm secretly a 70-plus-year-old man who runs the United States.
Like, you speak as if you were a boomer, and you're not. You're not.
I don't know why.
But you sound like a boomer. We're the greatest generation. We fought World War II.
I was gonna say, it's because I have boomer parents, but I mean, we all technically do if we're in this age range. Yeah. So that's not an excuse either.
That's fair. That's fair.
I'm secretly a little old man or lady or both. It doesn't matter. But anyway, you can find us on social media. The fastest way is to just go to Instagram at Show Me What Pod, and then you'll find all the other portals to Twitter and YouTube. And we are also on the same, major podcasting platforms as Lauren and Sarah, the lovely folks from Enough Wicker. Thank you guys so much for joining us. This was so much fun.
This was a blast.
Thank you.
I'm actually going to continue watching these ladies.
Are you hooked now? Are you ready?
I will. I got to go back and find out the whole origin of Big and all that stuff. And watch all the sex crimes, and then I'll be fine.
You will when you watch that Barkley episode, you will absolutely flip out because it's just like jaw-droppingly insane.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
The stuff that they yada yada in this show. It's pretty insane.
Crossover.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys all for listening. Be sure to tune into Enough Wicker, tune into us, and have a lovely rest of your day, week, month, however you're listening to us, whatever time frame it is.